Let's jump right into this explainer by setting the scene. It's the night of June 7th, 2021. Picture an isolated 1,700-acre hunting estate called Moselle, hidden deep in the rural forests of South Carolina's Low Country. Normally, the only things you'd hear after dark out there are the bugs and the distant barking of hunting dogs. It's incredibly private, peaceful even. But on this specific summer night, the quiet of that sprawling property was absolutely shattered, and it almost instantly became one of the most heavily scrutinized crime scenes in modern American history. The chaos officially starts at exactly 10:07 p.m. when emergency dispatchers get a frantic 911 call. The guy on the other end of the line, Alex Murdaugh, a massive name in the local legal community. He was totally distraught, telling the dispatcher over and over that he'd just gotten home and found his wife, Maggie, and his 22-year-old son, Paul, lying on the ground down by the property's dog kennels. When first responders finally rushed up those long, dark dirt roads, what they found was just brutal. Maggie and Paul had both been fatally shot. Now, at first, investigators were staring at a complete mystery. There was no sign of a break-in, no obvious suspects lingering around, and the murder weapons were nowhere to be found. But as detectives started peeling back the layers of that night, they began asking a question that would completely rock the state of South Carolina. What happens when the very person desperately calling for help actually becomes your prime suspect? Because, as we're going to see, this wasn't just some random tragedy. It was the sudden, violent unraveling of a dynasty. Section 1. Legacy of Power. The Fall of the Murdaugh Dynasty. To really wrap our heads around this case, we have to look at the absolute pressure cooker Alex Murdaugh was living in right before the murders. For almost 100 years, the Murdaugh name was practically synonymous with the law in the Low Country. They were untouchable. But that pristine facade, it was cracking, fast. In February 2019, Paul was allegedly driving the family boat while intoxicated, crashed it, and tragically, a 19-year-old named Mallory Beach was killed. This triggered a massive civil lawsuit against Alex that threatened to expose his entire financial life. And get this, at that exact same time, his own law partners were quietly investigating millions, literally millions, of dollars in missing client funds. The walls were closing in on him from every single direction. Section 2. The Final Hours. June 7, 2021. Even with all those legal storms brewing, the day of the murders seemed surprisingly normal. Alex, Maggie, and Paul had dinner together at the main house. But as the sun went down, Maggie and Paul headed out toward the dog kennels, and this is where the digital timeline comes in, and it completely flips the investigation on its head. At 8:44 p.m., Paul records a video at the kennels. Immediately after that, total, abrupt silence. Both Paul and Maggie's phones stop moving, stop texting, stop doing anything. Just totally inactive. Then, over an hour goes by, until 10:07 p.m. when Alex makes that frantic 911 call. That mysterious window of time between the video and the silence became the absolute center of the universe for these detectives. Section 3. The Silent Witnesses. When Evidence Speaks. Here's the thing about this crime. It happened on a dark, sprawling estate with 0 eyewitnesses, no murder weapons left behind, and no security cameras covering the kennels. The police had to rely entirely on a totally different kind of witness to piece the night together. Because, digital devices don't forget. While human memory can fade or be completely fabricated, the data is just the data. Analysts started layering all these digital breadcrumbs together, cell phone call logs, vehicle GPS showing exactly when Alex's car turned on and off, step counts from their health apps, even the exact second a phone screen lit up. The devices became silent witnesses. And the story they told? It definitely did not match the story investigators were being fed. The absolute smoking gun in this whole case was found right on Paul Murdaugh's phone. At 8:44 p.m., Paul recorded a super quick video to send to a friend. He was just showing them a dog's tail. It was mundane, totally innocent. But if you listen closely to the background of that clip, you can clearly hear 3 distinct voices. And multiple people who knew the family intimately identified those voices as Paul, Maggie, and Alex Murdaugh. So why is a random video of a dog such a game changer? Because it caught Alex in a massive lie. From the very first night, Alex swore up and down to the police that he was never at the dog kennels before he found the bodies. He said he took a nap at the main house and then left to go check on his mom. But this video? It literally placed him right at the crime scene, hanging out with Maggie and Paul, just mere seconds before their phones went dark forever. Section 4. Justice on Trial. Down in Walterboro, South Carolina. Fast forward to January 2023. The man who used to own the courtrooms in this town is now sitting at the defense table, on trial for murder, and the entire country is watching. The prosecution laid it all out. They argued Alex was staring down the barrel of total financial ruin, and he killed his family to create a distraction and buy himself some time. They leaned heavily on that digital timeline, especially the kennel video, to prove his guilt. But the defense fought back hard. They hammered home the fact that the state had zero physical evidence linking Alex to the trigger. No weapon, no bloody clothes. They claimed the police basically got tunnel vision, rushed to judgment, and ignored other possible suspects entirely. And then we got a moment that left legal analysts absolutely speechless. In a huge, high-stakes gamble, Alex Murdaugh took the witness stand. Faced with the undeniable reality of that 8:44 p.m. video, he finally admitted to the jury that he had lied to the cops. His exact words were, "I lied, I was paranoid." He blamed the lies on a severe, decades-long opioid addiction that made him distrustful of law enforcement. He even confessed right there on the stand to years of stealing millions from his own clients. But through tears, he fiercely denied ever hurting his wife and son. It essentially came down to the jury deciding, is a confessed liar and thief capable of being a family annihilator? Well, on March 2nd, 2023, it took the jury less than 3 hours to answer that question. Guilty on all charges. Alex Murdaugh was handed 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And honestly, for most of the world watching at home, it felt like the definitive end to this wild story. The Murdaugh dynasty was officially dead and buried.
But then we hit Section 5, the unfinished verdict, a constitutional twist.
Because in the American legal system, a conviction isn't always the end of the road. Months after the trial wrapped, Alex's defense team dropped a massive appeal. They brought forward some incredibly serious allegations against the Colleton County Clerk of Court, Becky Hill. They accused her of having improper contact with the jurors, alleging she made comments that could have actually swayed their deliberations. In a heartbeat, the conversation shifted. We weren't debating the digital timeline anymore. The question was suddenly much bigger. Was this trial fundamentally fair and impartial in the first place? This fight went all the way up to the highest court in the state. And then came the bombshell. In May 2026, the South Carolina Supreme Court actually agreed with the defense. They officially vacated Alex Murdaugh's murder convictions and ordered a brand new trial. Now, to be clear, they didn't say he was innocent, and they didn't throw out any of that digital evidence we talked about. They just ruled that the procedural issues behind the scenes were so bad, they compromised the integrity of the whole trial. Now, if you're wondering about double jeopardy, let's clear that up. The Fifth Amendment stops the government from trying you twice for the same crime if you've been acquitted. But that protection doesn't apply here, because his conviction was tossed out over a procedural error, a compromised jury, and not because there wasn't enough evidence. The state has the green light to retry the exact same murder case with a brand new jury. And just a quick reality check on where Alex is right now. Even with the murder convictions vacated, he is definitely not a free man. Alex Murdaugh is still sitting firmly behind bars. Remember all those financial crimes? He pleaded guilty and was convicted of stealing millions from his own clients. So he is currently serving decades in prison for those separate charges, while he waits for his new day in court for Maggie and Paul. Which leaves us with a pretty intense thought to chew on. As both sides gear up to do this all over again, you really have to ask, can the justice system actually guarantee a fair and impartial jury when the entire world has already obsessed over every single detail of this case? It's a razor-thin tightrope between having overwhelming evidence and honoring the absolute right to due process. The final chapter on the Murdaugh dynasty is still unwritten. So what do you think is going to happen at the retrial?